All right, good morning, good morning. How the heck are you? Ladies and gentlemen of the P2P community. Oh man, should be a good Friday, I'm hoping. Hey, good morning, Paulie. Yeah. Life is always getting in the way, huh? I gotta tell you, speaking of life getting in the way, my lawnmower debacle continues. Bought this lawnmower, and I swear to you, when I bought it, and then y'all are gonna laugh, okay? I'm really good at trading, but sometimes other things are silly. I bought this lawnmower, and I said, you know, because I was buying my house, and I was like, man, you know, what could possibly be wrong with it? You know, it's just a lawnmower. They said, runs great, cuts great. Bought it. Looked good. Yeah, it doesn't run great, cut great. I'll tell you that for free. I have had to change everything on this lawnmower. And we're just adding to that. The coil went bad yesterday, or a few days ago. Anyways. Name brand. Well, it's it's an old mower, so I'm not going to blame the brand by any means. And it does have a Briggs mower or a motor engine, Briggs and Strat, which those are really good. The engine's strong. It's a great engine. I've just had problems with the deck. The person that I had bought it from didn't have the right belt on there, so the blades weren't stopping. So I had to get the correct belt and put it on there. Basically rebuilt the whole deck. And then the starter was bad, so I had to get a new starter. Holy cow, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world. I hope you're doing well. Just a reminder, this is not financial advice. The information on this channel is provided for education, informational purposes only, without express apply warranty of any kind, including warranty of actually completeness, fitness, for any purpose. Holy cow. We're ready to get going. Yeah, we've got Powell speaking at 10. Powell is speaking at 10, so we might be sitting here for a bit, or maybe there's a setup early on. Good morning to everybody. Knight, Marcel, Paulie, Lenny, Florian, Nelly, Elite. Good to have you all here on this beautiful Friday morning. All right, we're starting off on the NASDAQ again. Yesterday, inside bar. All right, I think this is probably what we were talking about yesterday. They hadn't triggered any levels. They were just sitting on the inside of this box and basically consolidation, which can be an indication of exactly what we see here. The day is becoming consolidated. Sahil, good morning to you. The day is becoming consolidated, and it could potentially turn into an inside day, which it did. All right, we had Wednesday, breakout day, breakout close today. Has made a lower low. They triggered the previous day's low, but they did not go lower than the low of the current week, which is fine. All right, we've triggered the previous day's low, which means we may have been putting money at the previous day's high. Are they making higher highs and higher lows? Yes, they are. They've pumped it up to the high of the day and gone back into consolidation. I really like this pattern. I like that we're at levels. We're at the high of the current day. We're at the high, in consolidation at the high. I would be happy to watch this pattern in general. Looks really clean. And we had a signal day yesterday coming into day 3, which is good. Okay, because now we have a bit of a rectangle built. It looks decent. Not my favorite template in the world, but still maybe something to watch. Okay, US 30. Slightly different. This is also not triggered a weekly level, whereas the NASDAQ has triggered a weekly level. I'll go back and illustrate that for you real quick. So this is the current week with my little red line here. And then notice they we've broken out essentially of the previous day's low. And I think this is the first time, if the week closes this way, that we've closed in breakout since, was that 3 weeks ago? So we had 3 weeks ago, they closed in breakout, they went back to the high has potentially failed. And then now we're broken back out to the downside. I don't know if I should be going long. Or also, we made the lower low. Day 1, breakout. Day 2, inside. Day 3, triggered the low, pumped it back up. Again, I'm not going to speculate too much. I'm just going to watch this. This will be a watch. This will be a watcher. US 30, we still haven't triggered a weekly level. Now, we have broken out to the upside last week and then been basically just consolidating all week long. Wednesday was an inside bar. Yesterday was a breakout that has failed at the low of the current week, resetting the cycle to day 1. Today is day 2. We should, in theory, be trading away from peak formation low of the failed breakout, and we are. Does that mean that I can get a trade off of this? I think I'm going to skip the US 30 for today. And I'll tell you why. Again, we haven't triggered a level. We've been in consolidation. It's day 3. This week could just turn it into an inside week where we oscillate around the open. Okay, gold. Gold is interesting. Has gold triggered a weekly level? Yes, it has. We triggered previous week's low at the beginning of the week. We've had a bit of an oscillation back and forth. However, I noticed this yesterday. We've been in consolidation since April. We've been going sideways on this for quite some time. This is a pretty big trading range. Okay. Now, does that affect our day today? Yeah, a little bit. But it is a fairly wide range, so we can still find good setups and things like that. Let's take a look. We triggered previous week's low. We got a first green day and a breakout day 1, immediately followed by a first red day, or a red day in general, not necessarily a first red day because we're still on the inside of the week's high and low. No, I'm not doing this. Gold, I'm guessing direction. I'm not doing that. I'm just not going to do it. Tony, it's good to have you back. Moses, yeah. So this whole back and forth ordeal that gold is doing, it's getting very choppy. It's getting very back and forth. And I think that I'm not willing to guess. These conditions need to change. Okay, the Russell. Ooh. All right, everybody should be jumping out of their seat, jumping out of their chair. Somebody, please. If I'm looking for templates, I'm looking for setups. You all are here with me every day. I'm begging. Please tell me what you all see from Thursday. What signal? I'm going to take a look at the Russell, look at Thursday. We have breakout week 1 on... was this last week? It looks like they actually broke down the week prior. They did. They broke out. They closed. They broke out to the high. Yep. Yeah. So we had Tuesday, which was an opening range breakout. Wednesday, which was a breakout day 2. Thursday attempted to go lower at the low of the current week. It didn't get there. And then it closed above not only the open for that day, but also the close, and also below or above the Tuesday breakout level. Okay, so we broke down and we popped back up. We triggered the high. We had a first green day on Thursday. Now we've triggered the high, breakout, pullback, follow through, a little bit of continuation to go up. Unfortunately, this looks like it could have been a really solid London session trade. This is perfect. Triggered the remember all the templates that I talked about? We got previous day's high in this case. They trigger the high, they pull back, and then you get follow through. They could break out of the high and pull back. Top of the box becomes the bottom of the box, and then follow through. They could pin. They could pin through the high and then pull back, and then there's follow through. So it's looking like we've got a bit of this option here where they broke out, they pulled back into the session, and then now there's follow through. So do I actually have a setup though going into the session? We already had this huge move in London. We're just going to go on. All right, 15-minute chart oil. 3 legs. We've also got 3 days of breakouts. Are we at the high of the current week? Yes. Have we triggered weekly levels? We did not at the beginning of the week. We did not until yesterday. Actually, no, we haven't. We haven't triggered a weekly level on oil either. Hold on, before I say that super definitively, let me double check. That's previous week's high. This is previous week's low down here. Nope. Okay, so we're still on the inside on US 30, or on oil, excuse me. Which would make sense. US 30 is on the inside. We have a high of previous week up here. Got the low of the previous week down over here. So it looks like we traded down from the open of the week, which was here. And that's about where we are right now. This was the opening of the week right here. And it looks like maybe now it's going to try and recover that. All right. What a day. All right, we're going to do this one here. I need to get my other screen set up. I need to fix my mop too. What the heck is going on? I still got like bedhead. I promised I combed my hair this morning. I guess I didn't do a very good job. Looking like a steaming pile over here. Whatever. We need to get Burke set up. Might be time for a haircut. It's been a few weeks. US 30 heading to high of the week. Nelly. Maybe. Maybe. And Russell, I mean, they kind of look like maybe they're set up to go, back towards levels, like you just said. Like maybe it's set up to do that. Going from curvature, and now we're getting the curl back up. We had the dump. We had the consolidation down low. Maybe we're breaking out now, going back towards the high. Very well could be. Very well could be. We do have that news at 10, which is in 30 minutes. But that's just that man talking. He's going to come out. He's going to say, good morning. And then the entire market's going to go crazy. All right, I've got my other screen up. I have not executed any trades. I'm over here just doing some mapping on the 1 minute. Taking a look at the structure a little bit. It is just 1 minute structure, so I'm not even it's not even worth me talking about necessarily. There was a 1 minute lower low, but it's not, I don't really use a lot of weight with that just because so many of those structural levels will fail on a 1 minute. It is an interesting response. We've got the NASDAQ slamming down off the open, and then all other indexes did not. Could be a dump for a pump, 3-day setup, parabolic. It looks like going back towards the high of the current week, but I don't know. Okay, gold. Gold was the one that I was sitting here ranting and raving about not really knowing. They did make a pretty good little pattern here. They were making, this is a squeeze pattern. They've came down. They made lower lows. They spiked up through the high, made a higher high, went into consolidation, came down, triggered the level. So we do have a higher high in place on gold. And then now it's doing its thing. But that's all just internal inside stuff. We had a breakout day. Maybe this was the pullback, breakout pullback, day 1, day 2. Day 3, are we doing a continuation of day 1, which is the peak formation? Then we have a pullback. Are we going back towards the high? NASDAQ, 5-minute engulfment, 5-minute down close breakout bar. I won't say engulfment. It is a down close breakout. Which would then tell me that I cannot do anything if I wanted to go long. I don't really want to go long, but if I did, I would have to wait for them to break back out to the upside before I would execute. Yeah. It's also 9:36, which is getting mighty close. I'm going to leave myself a note here. The Russell, do the Russell. It's high of current. The low of last on here is down there. So yeah, the Russell is another one that has not triggered a weekly level. So this first green day might have a little bit less relevance. then gold, I said I really wasn't particularly satisfied with. Seems like a lot of instruments have not triggered weekly levels. NASDAQ is the only one that kind of has. Very interesting. Shaky, good morning. I hope you're doing fantastic here on this wonderful Friday morning. All right, I just took a little 10-point scalp on the NASDAQ. That was an easy 10 points. Easy 10 points. It's very small. Not even worth showing you all. Just an easy 10-pointer. How many times have you seen this pattern? Everybody out there so there's a few scenarios in which this plays out, this pattern. Seen this a bajillion times. Big, big, big open. Immediately fails. They make a run for the high. A lot of times it'll break out and then do exactly like it's done here. Either it'll continue to go vertical, which looks like it's doing right now, or it'll play the high and then reverse. But a lot of times you can get just a small little scalp here. I've kind of added that to like my little scalping playbook. Whenever I see this, because I just keep seeing it over and over and over, everyone trying to get back down to the low. So this is kind of one of the trades that I've been taking more frequently when it shows up. Ooh, that was a pretty big rejection there. All right, 9:41. We've got some time. Took that little scalp long. I have a feeling that it's not a scalp. I have a very strong feeling that this is going back for previous day's high, which would be the setup, right? We've got the low has been triggered. They pop back up. They went into consolidation. It kind of failed to go lower. So we're going to go back for the high and go back for the money, which does seem to be happening. Moses, I did, and I do. That's what I just did right here. I bought this bar here. I bought this candle. The sound is not good. There we go. Is the sound better now? $10 a.m. clip. Yeah, Florian, that was actually kind of part of my thoughts on snagging that scalp. I had a feeling that, it's not even really a feeling, again, from experience, they moved the market prior to him speaking. And it was moving. I mean, that was a really strong down move that failed once again immediately. Going right back for the high. Nothing, you know, nothing crazy. A little 10-point scalp. Easy. 10 points is bread and butter. Got gold going where it's going. I'm going to wait for him to start speaking, though. I think that this is sound thoughts. I think it's going back to previous day's high. On the setup, coming off the setup, we had the spike down into the close. And a consolidation on top with follow through. Which actually, this follow through was a breakout. If you look at the little trend line here, is a breakout. This is also an opening range breakout, first 5 minutes. Oh, wow. US 30 giving a little parabolic. Very cool. Yeah, these are all cruising pretty good. Say 9:45. We've got 15 minutes till he starts speaking. Looking for setups. This was a good setup, I think. Normally I like to get in on these, you know, at the level, but it still provided a good one at the level. AK, welcome back. You taking anything yet? I think AK, you typically like gold, don't you? Holy cow. What was that? What is that? Was there news? I'm not in, thankfully. That thing just came out of nowhere, started spiking down. Is somebody speaking right now that I should know about? Let's see. Fed chair speaking at 10. That's nice. Is there anybody Is there anybody speaking right now? FBI raids John Bolton's home. I don't think that's probably the reason. Is there anybody... Is there anybody speaking right now? No. Okay. Maybe that drop down was the, like the manipulation before the speaking. So now they've pulled it off the high. And they've locked everybody in. Which you can kind of see visually, right? We broke out of the high, which, was this the high of the day? It was the high of the day. So high of the day prior to the session beginning was right here. We broke out of the high. This huge 1, 2, and then we had a sideways, and then possibly a 3, and then an engulfment, which may have just locked in the high. Maybe. Looks like they're still letting this guy out. I'm saying all these things on the wrong screen. What a day. So what I was saying is the high of the day prior to the session beginning was right here. We've came out 1, 2, sideways, maybe a 3, and then an engulfment down. But my problem with that is they're still allowing this guy to make money. Yeah, it's shaky. I still think they're going to previous day's high. They keep squeezing out shorts every time they do this, and it gets real scary. They just keep going up immediately. Look, they immediately take it away. I wanted to go short. I go short. They take it away. Ouch. And then it squeezes out the shorts and keeps going higher. Longs are in control of the market right now. The longs are winning. Hello, everyone. Better late than never. Absolutely. And you're not even late. It's not even 10 o'clock yet. Good to have you here. If you're one of those people in the background, we got 75, 82. We're jumping up a little bit. Heck yeah. If you're one of the people in here right now that you come to the stream daily and you enjoy being here and you appreciate these streams, well, I appreciate you being here. If you could just hit the little the like button and don't lurk in the background. Hang out. Stay a while. Say hello. All right. Good stuff. I'm out of caffeine. That's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt. I wouldn't fill the boat up. No. I think someone said, "Is there a best trade setups?" I don't see one. I don't see any best trade setups right now. There was some parabolic movement off the open. As far as my playbook goes, I don't see anything that I'm like, today's the day I'm going to load the boat. I'm not dumping contracts on there today. I took a 10-point scalp on NASDAQ long, and that was off of this. I was explaining this is it's a fairly new setup that I'm adding to my playbook because I'm getting tired, or I've been tired of seeing this happen over and over and over again and me not be able to benefit from it. This is a reoccurring behavior. I see it all the time. I think all of you probably do, where they spike down, immediately take it away, and then they start inching their way back up, and then it goes vertical through the high. On the retracement, I went long, and then took a 10-point scalp back towards the high. Because they're squeezing out the shorts. How do you choose one to trade? You're digging what? You're digging 4 trades? I'm not sure what that means, Supa. How do you choose one to trade? Whichever one I think is best. And what do you call it? The one I think is best is the one that is not only gives me a signal, gives me a 3-day opportunity, is doing what it's supposed to on the day, but also when the chart appears a certain way, right? When it's consolidated a certain way, when the levels have been broken in a certain way, when it's consolidating above or below that level at a certain distance a certain way, when the swings, it's hard to explain with, I'm trying to explain a visual in my head, or with words. When the swings are a certain distance apart from one another, and then the price action is moving in a certain way, those are the ones that I would say, this is perfect. I need to be focused only on this one. Right now, I don't have one of those. I think that all of these are pumped up really high, and that may lead to something. But I'm not sitting here like this is a best trade opportunity. I definitely need to be watching this. A lot of things have not triggered weekly levels. A lot of things are consolidated for the week. And I think I've been talking about this throughout the week. I'm not particularly fond of how things have set up this week because a lot of them are consolidated. They're sideways, which could, in the past, has led to a very large Friday move. Maybe they triggered a level on Friday, but if you go back and study where Monday all the way through Thursday does not trigger a level, the probability of Friday also not triggering a level is very high. Which means that it could just become a very consolidated, choppy week, which is exactly what we're trying to avoid. So I can use that hindsight information on Thursday coming into Friday to help me determine, well, really even Wednesday, right? If it's Wednesday going into Thursday or Tuesday going into Wednesday, Wednesday going into Thursday, and they still haven't triggered a previous week's level, then they haven't triggered a previous week's level. And then the probability continues to go up that they're not going to do that, and it could just become a consolidated week. Just something to consider. A master class on hunting setups. It hurts, Connie. Hunting setups. First, you have to have them. You have to understand them, and you have to... That's like the first step, right? Learn the setups. Know what characteristics go into them. If you don't understand what one of those characteristics means, learn about the characteristic so that way you know what it means. Have a basket of setups, a playbook. 3 or 4, maybe 5. And then every week, just look for those things to occur in the market. And when those characteristics and those templates show up, then this isn't a masterclass, by the way. I'm just saying in general. Then those are the ones that you focus on. But you have to. It's not just. It's hard because in math, you would say, okay, 1 + 1 = 2. Well, you have to know what the number 1 looks like. Like if you really were to break it down, like you have to know what the number 1 looks like. You have to understand like very general things when it comes to 1 + 1 = 2, right? You have to know what one, just little stuff, things that you wouldn't even think about now as an adult because it's like we've been doing this since, first grade, second grade, grade school. But it's the same as every other thing that you ever learn. You have to understand it first before you can truly learn it. You have to understand all the ins and outs of what certain things mean. What setup do I have in my playbook? Yeah. But you have to understand the setup too, because I could just sit here and I could rant and rave about first green day and first red day all day long. And then when there's a first red or a first green that doesn't play out or doesn't work out, and you're like, I don't get it. Why did that happen? It's because you don't truly understand the setup. You don't truly understand why these things are taking place. and you don't truly understand price action trading, which is extremely important in my opinion for on the day. Because the way that I used to do things, it was more of just, hey, we're at the level, I'm going to get in. And we're at the level I'm going to get in, to me, is not a setup. The signal might be there, but it's not a setup. Okay, they just started allowing shorts to make money on a 1-minute chart. They had made this lower low, and then they went back to the high. The high has potentially failed. Potentially, right? This, if it continues to go lower. We've done a 1, 2, 3 at the open. We got a pin hammer at the high of the day. This is an M, by the way. This is the middle structure of an M that I think it's called like a shooting star. If it's not called shooting star, please don't, wreck me over there in the chat. But we could call it an A-top reversal. But this is meant to be, in BTMM terms, this is supposed to be the middle structure of an M. Which you can actually see on a 1-minute chart now that I've just noticed. That's the middle structure of the M. We're at the high of the day. I was already looking for a short setup because of what's happened here. That was the 3-day setup. We're in breakout down. We've had an inside bar. But they triggered the low. Heck yeah, John. John, you've been doing really well lately, it seems. It seems like you have a really good grasp on what you're looking for. Every time I see you say something in there, it's just, I took it, I'm done, I'm out. And then you like go about your day. That's fantastic. Only shorts? Oh, hey, you and me both, John. That's you and me both. This hurt. To have to take this long, it hurt me. I can't see this stuff. It feels weird. But on this setup, I can see it a little bit better. Whenever they spike down like this, I think this is one of the only longs that I'm like really good at seeing. There's this one, this variation. And then also whenever a market drops, so it does a vertical move like this early in the day. When it makes a vertical move, hey, he just started speaking. He said, good morning. Holy cow. Hey, good morning means the market go up, apparently. That's insane. It just froze. I'm froze out. On my broker, they've already gone up through they just went up through the previous day's high. I'm froze out. I got to hold on for a second. Yeah. They might have just blown everything out. But anyways, what I was saying, one of the other long variants that I can see really well is when a market makes a yeah, for real, John. That was, you would have got slipped to like 100 points. Probably not 100. Maybe 100. Let me see. Because this bar basically opened here and then it, oh no, that was 146 points. That's 500, 700, over 700 ticks in one minute candle. Almost 800. Good morning. This is the response that we get to good morning. Sure. Anyways. What I was saying was, whenever the market drops down early in the day, maybe Asia or London, and it does a very aggressive move, and then you come in and they've gone sideways like this for like 4, 5, 6 hours. And then somewhere in this 4, 5, or 6 hours, they spike up through the high like this. And then coming into the session, or in the session, you'll notice that they start ramping and squeezing. I can see these really well as well. And I like to take these and get out kind of back up over here somewhere. I'm good with taking those kinds of longs. And to be fair, the pattern to go short is exactly the same. It just looks different in my eyes for whatever reason. Nipsey, I am not commenting on that, but that's kind of funny. I've never ever heard it called that. I guess by me saying I'm not going to comment on that, I just commented on it. Whatever. I'm out of water. I'm out of caffeine. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. Holy cow. That is a really big bar. And that means I need to go down to... Actually, they just triggered the high of an inside bar. So the only other setup this could be would be, are they doing a range expansion to the upside or it kind of seems like it. Are they going back for the high of the week? They also just hit the high of Wednesday. I don't necessarily have a playbook opportunity. The only thing I could do is maybe first bounce, but we're so up off of the heck no, I'm cool on trading the good morning. I'm right there with you. This doesn't feel, I mean, it doesn't really feel natural, right? As far as setups go, I'd have to trade the pullback. I'd have to trade the pullback. How big is that pullback going to be? Because right now, if they were to pull back to previous day's high before continuing to go higher, that's 153 points. I'm cool on trading the good morning. We should create a whole trading setup called the good morning. There's already there's an exercise called the good morning. We need a trading setup called the good morning. It shows up anytime somebody speaks. Good morning. I love it. All right, so if I do take something, I'm going to be doing it on micros because this is too much. You're long on oil. Has the oil triggered a level? No. It is squeezing higher, though. Is there a reason to take a long setup? We have breakout day 1, breakout day 2. We've just gone into breakout day 3, going back towards previous week's high. No levels have been triggered. And we're into the third peak. I think that I'm going to not do that on this. Yeah, we'll call it the good morning goodbye. Nah, that's silly. It doesn't sound good. Look at Russell. Has Russell triggered a level yet? Or did it make it back to previous week's high or anything? Because that's the reason I haven't been watching some of these is because they have not triggered previous week's levels. It looks like it was making a run for the previous week's levels, which is, yep. NASDAQ hit the previous week's high. Okay. Romanian deadlifts. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I am a fan of the Romanian deadlift. Yeah, like straight legs. Unfortunately, in my garage, I have like a really nice, what do you call it? Like an epoxied floor, right? I have an epoxied floor, and I have the flakes in it for grip. And I don't want to damage that by deadlifting on it, so I put the rack all the way at the floor so that the weights are just off the floor a little bit. But unfortunately, it's not technically a deadlift, because I'm basically a rack pull, but from way down low. So naturally, I'm probably able to pull a little bit more from that position because I'm not pulling it from the floor, but whatever. It still works pretty good. Yeah, I don't really know or feel good anymore. Like, I kind of thought that this was going to happen. I thought they were going to go to the previous day's high, but they've done it in a way that, you know, he said good morning, and now we're all the way up here, and it's like, well, dang. Actually, it was NASDAQ. NASDAQ, I was thinking we go back to previous day's high based off the inside day. I was fine with either one, really. You know, we've had the lows. We've been going lower. It did fail to go lower over here, and it was in consolidation, so going back for the high made sense in the way that it was squeezing and everything. But now it's kind of like, is it going to keep going? I think maybe a first bounce is not a bad idea, but it's also emotionally driven by, like, how big that candle is. That could be momentum. If they pull back, the pullback is going to be too big. I think the pullback would be too big. You know what I mean? Like, if it just keeps going, that's fantastic. But there's a 50-50 chance it just keeps going. Or it has to make that pullback. Like, this is the highest we're going to get. Yeah, it would be. It is a little sketchy. I'm inclined to agree. I'm inclined to agree. It's also kind of, it's not necessarily a blue sky. We do have a little bit of space to get back up here, but I mean, this is a really big breakout to the upside with no retracement. Wow, the Russell's insane. Everything's moving extremely strange today. Not strange. It's parabolic. We've gone parabolic. We had a first green day. This makes sense. Unfortunately, it was news driven. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Are just as insane. Yeah. But this could honestly be setting us up really well for next week as well. kind of a trash throwaway week, ending on a decent note. And then next week, maybe the whole week will be decent. We'll get a lot of decent setups. It wasn't actually a trash throwaway week. I think there was really solid setup on Wednesday. I just wasn't there for it. See, we got a minute 44 left on this bar. Let's see, from today's open to where we are now, how high are we? That is a really large up-close bar. Okay, I did take the first bounce on NASDAQ. He was added in for noon today. Interesting. I'm about to close, and then I'm going to explain. All right. I just took about 50 points. Still got a little bit left on here. Hold on. Okay, I'm out. I'm out. And let me explain why. They just keep squeezing shorts out. Number one. Number two, this is a first bounce trade on a range expansion of the inside bar. For all of you that have been in the class with me, and we've gone through the case study of inside bars, and I think I've done them here on live streams as well. Whenever there's an expansion of a range like this, of an inside bar, one full expansion is a very common area or very common target. Now, how long does it take them to get there? It could take multiple days. In this case, this is a lot of momentum, and they are squeezing out the shorts, and it's just moving. It was moving very clean. It was moving very well, and my thesis is very strong, and it was right here. This is where my thesis was created. We broke out. They tried to go lower on a 1-minute chart, which was right here. And it was immediately bought back up, which means that we are still possibly or potentially squeezing out the shorts. There's a small breakout here, which is now squeezing out the shorts, and they went higher. And it tried to go back down again, which is now forming a bit of a line like this, which was immediately bought up again. Now, this run was much shorter before the pullback, which means that it could be losing steam. And we're getting very close to that one full expansion. So when it immediately got bought back up again on this bar and it closed, I bought this bar. Okay, and I was in very small, 1 micro, okay, as a test. On the break, I went in a bit heavier, and I added 3 more. Okay, I added 3 more contracts for the follow through, back up to and through the high. That looks like it. That looks like a nothing move. All right, it looks like absolutely nothing. All right, it's over 50 pips to get there. So I took a 10-point scalp earlier. Hold on. So I'm not just talking out of my booty. Okay. Not bad. Couple little scalps. That was a first bounce. And usually a first bounce to me is just to get back to the high anyways. Whenever I take that, I don't take them very often, but the first bounce after news, you know, on a pre-existing setup. So the first bounce is meant to be off of a pre-existing setup, right? We said previous days high, previous days low. The setup is inside bar, low of week reversal. All right, we're doing a range expansion of that inside bar, or that gives you the targets. First full expansion gets us right here. News confirms direction. The first bounce confirms the setup. I can't predict the future, so I have to wait for a few things. All right, I could have probably got in over here, but I didn't really feel good about it because of how big these ranges are. But when this got bought up for the second time, that made sense. Now, price action piece. Notice how every time they break the high, the swings are getting shorter and shorter and shorter. This either means it's losing steam or it's about to blow off. It could be losing steam, and then you'll see it pump for a dump, and then it could be like this. Now we're going to go back down for the retracement. But it's the swings are getting shorter. Now, of course, this is just a 1-minute chart too, so take that for what you will. 10:20, we're done. We can all high five and knuckle bump, fist bump, and, you know, say yeehaw. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend as well. I've taken 2 trades today, a 10-point scalp and about 50 points, just about, almost. Let's see here, off initial entry. Yeah, off my initial entry, that first micro was about 50. I think the second entry is probably a little bit shorter, maybe like 30 to 40 points. But 30 to 40 points is nothing to, you know, be sad about. Now, I did have to do it with very small size. Normally, I would be trading sometimes I'll be trading multiple minis. But because of how large this range is, I didn't really feel good about that, because what if they could have pinned down through me and then kept going, and that would have been very unfortunate. But with minis, that would be a lot of size. So I opted for micros. Make a little less to be a little bit more safe. I'm good with that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have a great rest of your day and a great weekend as well. Please be safe. I hope to see you all here again on Monday. Same time as well, 9:15 a.m. Eastern Time. Should be good. All right, I'll see you all then. Bye-bye.